Hello and welcome back to another Runaway American UK edition video. We're back with another special request from Buy Me a Coffee. Thank you so much, Gary, Mr. Bell. Thank you. This is the Battle of Bamber Bridge, racial violence in World War II. You've sent me quite a few requests. I'm doing a short one today because that's all I have time for, but I promise I'm getting to your longer requests as well. Thank you for everyone that has made special requests. If you want to make your own, you can head over to Buy Me a Coffee, which I always have in my bio or in my link in my descriptions. Also, yes, that's about it. I don't have any idea obviously I know what this is going to be about, which is racial violence, but I'm not really sure about the battle or what went on in regards to this this time in history, obviously. So let's just get into the video and see what my thoughts are.
Bridge, which took place in Lancashire,
There we go.
England. Now, it may sound like a battle from the War of the Roses, the English Civil War, or even a battle between the Anglo-Saxons and Viking invaders, but no. This battle took place in 1943 during the Second World War. But I hear you say, the Germans never invaded, so how come there was a battle on English soil? The answer is that it took place between black and white American GIs. So let's get into it. When American troops started deploying to Britain to begin the build-up for D-Day and to contribute to the air war, they didn't only bring men and material, they also brought some of their social issues, mainly the Jim Crow segregation laws and rules. Britain didn't have such laws, as there were few black people in the country at the time, especially outside of the main cities. In rural areas, especially in small villages, very few people had ever seen a black person. The people of Britain didn't understand the segregation, and for the most part, treated all the American troops the same. But when they saw the way the white troops treated black soldiers, they didn't like it. And in many places, where there was a mixture of black and white GIs, the US Army tried to impose their segregation rules outside of their camps. This was very difficult in small villages. One such place was Bamber Bridge. The Air Force Station 569, known as Adams Hall due to the building at its entrance, came under the US 8th Air Force. It set up part of the Railway Control Depot network, which processed newly arrived troops landing at ports such as Liverpool before they were assigned to their units. It was home to the 1511th Quartermaster Truck Regiment, which consisted mainly of black GIs. The various companies of the regiment were based in different locations in the UK, and at the time of the incident, there were elements of the 1945th and 1949th Quartermaster Truck Companies in Adams Hall. The black soldiers were welcomed by the locals and treated no differently to anyone else. However, some of their white counterparts didn't like this and tried to impose a colour ban. The locals were having none of it and imposed their own ban by hanging signs outside the village's 3 pubs saying, "Black troops only." This led one lieutenant to say, and I quote, "One thing I noticed here, and which I don't like, is the fact that the English don't draw any colour line. The English must be pretty ignorant. I can't see how a white girl could associate with a Negro." End quote. The problems were exacerbated when the 234th Military Police Company were stationed on the other side of the town. Military police standing orders were to arrest anyone off base without a pass, being disorderly, or being incorrectly dressed. The MPs, like the vast majority of the white GIs, took exception to the general friendly treatment of the black troops and the fact that the local women liked the soldiers. On the 24th of June 1943, some of the members of the 1511th went to the Ye Old Hob Inn for a drink. Whilst enjoying a pint or two with the locals, 2 members of the 234th MP came in, responding to reports of trouble. Corporal Roy Windsor and Private First Class Ralph Ridgway approached Private Eugene Nunn, who was wearing a field jacket instead of his Class A's. They tried to arrest him, but the locals and one British soldier confronted the MPs and told them to leave Nunn and his colleagues alone as they weren't causing any trouble. The situation was diffused by a black staff sergeant, William Bird, but as the MPs drove off, a beer bottle was thrown at their jeep. Windsor and Ridgway then picked up 2 more MPs and were told by Captain Julius Hurst and Lieutenant Gerald Windsor that they needed to arrest the black soldiers. The MPs went to meet the soldiers on the station road as they returned to their camp on Mounsey Road. A subsequent fight ensued and an MP drew his pistol and fired a shot, injuring Private Lynn Adams, who had been responsible for throwing the bottle. A rumour quickly spread that the MPs were hunting down and shooting black soldiers. The soldiers then made their way back to the camp, and their acting CO, Major George Harris, and the unit's only black officer, Lieutenant Edwin Jones, temporarily calmed the situation. But it then rapidly deteriorated when several jeeps full of MPs and an improvised armoured car with a machine gun fitted arrived. The black soldiers went to the armory and equipped themselves with weapons and ammunition. Some of the soldiers formed barricades at their camp, while others spilled out into the town, fighting running battles with the MPs. A firefight then rapidly broke out, which left 7 wounded personnel, of which 5, an officer, 3 of the black soldiers, and an MP had gunshot wounds, and 2 MPs had been beaten up. Worst of all, one of the black soldiers, Private William Crossland, was shot dead. He is buried in the American Cemetery in Cambridge. 2 trials were held after the incident. In the first, held on the 18th of August 1943, 4 black soldiers, Lynn Adams, Eugene Nunn, William Ogletree, and James Wise, were convicted of riotous behaviour, resisting arrest, and assaulting members of the 234th MP. Adams, Nunn, and Ogletree got 3 years hard labour and dishonourable discharges. Wise got 2.5 years hard labour and a dishonourable discharge. This was for their part in the initial brawl at the Ye Old Hob Inn that sparked the whole incident. The second trial saw 35 dependents up before the court. The trial finished on the 18th of September, with 7 of those accused being acquitted and 28 being convicted. Those convicted got sentences of around 3 months to 15 years, with 7 of them receiving 12 years plus.
Ooh,
the charges varied, but included rioting, ignoring orders, mutiny, and the seizure of weapons. Sentence reviews later carried out resulted in 1 man being released and the others having their sentences reduced. 15 of the men resumed active service duty in June 1944, and 6 others had their sentences reduced further. The defendant with the sentence of 15 years ended up just serving 13 months. Further justice came when the commander of the US 8th Air Force put most of the blame on the MPs and white officers of the 1-5-11th, citing their racist attitudes as the main problem. The solution to try and prevent further incidents was for transport units to be rolled into a single command, the removal of racist and inexperienced or incompetent officers from their post, and the integration of black officers and soldiers into military police units. The measures saw a rise in morale of black soldiers based in England and a fall in the number of court-martial incidents. This wasn't to say that incidents didn't occur, as there were several more during the war, but none on the scale of what took place at Bamber Bridge. Well, that concludes.
That's crazy.
Today's episode. Hope you all enjoyed it.
Wow.
Thank you.
Very interesting, piece of history. The fact that there was no fights, England was never invaded, the UK was never invaded by Hitler and the Nazis in Germany during this period, but yet there was still fighting on their soil. But it was Americans, of course it was, though, wasn't it? Does it surprise me that we were extremely racist? Not really, because I would still say we're one of the most racist countries, and I think that the racism has continued quietly in some years and more loudly in others. I mean, right now we're hunting down people who look, very much like the Nazis did, who look a bit different, who don't look like the typical, what they perceive as the white American, which is what ICE is doing right now. So is it shocking that this occurred? Absolutely not. Am I shocked that the UK was welcoming to these soldiers? Again, absolutely not. I would imagine that they were. I obviously am not black. I'm obviously not. So I would never know how their experience is different, and I wouldn't comment on that. I don't know if their experience is different in the UK versus America. I would assume it is, but again, I would be assuming. So that wouldn't be a great look on my part to assume. But I do know that in this case, it was definitely that Americans were in the wrong and that the UK were in the right. Once again, they were standing up for black soldiers who were fighting in the same war. It's amazing to me that we were still segregating during a period of war where these soldiers were going to lay down their lives for our country still and for other people, and yet we still had the gall to separate them by race. Something that is the only thing that makes that different is the fact that they have more melanin in their skin. So is it beyond me? Absolutely. Am I, again, shocked? Not at all. Because we are quite good at being, rowdy, annoying, trying to enforce our views on others seems to be something that we're quite not only like happy to do, but like just we like to do it for no reason at all. We just like invade and like force our ideals on other people. And in this case, the UK was like, no, we're not going to do that. I do love the fact that they were putting up signs that said like only like black soldiers allowed. That's hysterical. That's very funny. Not that like the situation is funny, it's not at all, but the fact that they were doing exactly what the whites people were doing in the United States, which was putting segregation signs of like only whites allowed, or only whites considered this area, and black people at the back of the bus. All the Jim Crow laws were obviously extremely inhumane. So the fact that the UK was like, not only are we going to not abide by that, but we're going to do the same to you. See how you like that. Do you like it? No, probably not. Does it piss you off? Absolutely. Should you like maybe understand that everyone's a human being? Yeah, you should. Unfortunately, it took like an extreme battle where someone lost their life because you were too racist to see what was wrong with what you were doing. I don't know. That's just my thoughts, but yeah, very interesting video. Definitely had no idea of it. But again, I wouldn't say that I'm like a history buff. I do enjoy history and I do enjoy learning about history. However, also this would never have been taught in the United States. 100% no. Like, did I learn a lot about World War II? Yes, absolutely. I took like European history and everything, but our European history, as we've learned from many of these videos, is very skewed, and they only kind of teach us what they want to teach us. Mainly about things we either had no hand in, because then they can like, you know, they don't have to spin it, or one that we did have a hand in that they've largely embellish how much of a hand we had in it. So yeah, interesting video. Thank you so much for this special request. I really appreciate it, and I will see you all next time. Signing off. Bye-bye.